I met a gypsy
dog to that it takes to win, and not just on one day. Think about a GP season, like every day. It's just the same grind. You've just got to be that fucking animal every day.
Yeah, no, mate, it's it's day in, day out. That is the difference between the GP. I think a lot of people can come and have the odd good race, but then when you've got to do it all season long, and the effort it takes beforehand to then be in it all season, it's not just like get fast, go rip a whole shot and then hang in there. But nowadays, it's like you said, you just got to be an animal all year.
So I guess to get
the bikes, like you were saying, back to the bike.
Yeah. So do you think I want to talk about that actually, because you've raced some of the gnarliest motherfuckers. So yeah, are we going kind of in the right direction? Because it sort of seems like no one really gets a say in it in a way. Like you get the bike and it's like, this is how it works. And you can see that the new Honda, which you're on, but like Kenny has said that thing just doesn't really work in the whoops. And then it's like you got Chase all last year was fighting that bike. So it's like, all right, where's the feedback coming from? Like, is it just there's the bike, make it work? And if that's the case, are they getting better?
It's hard to say really, because when you think back, like I don't think the bikes have improved that much sort of from when my first year, say 2006 on that Kawasaki. I think back and I thought bike's pretty good. Like can't remember it ever being bad, and then none of the bikes I've ever rode have ever been bad. I think everything has got a lot better, so the standard bike's better, and it seems that everyone on the line, I think now no one has a bad bike sort of thing, where I think before having a factory bike was a little bit more crucial, or I don't know, it may be like a factory bike now is more crucial. It's difficult to say, because there was times at the GP where people could get a good result on a semi-factory bike, or like a production bike. I remember when Pourcel came over, obviously he's a different guy who's just unreal on a bike, but he came and he was like, I just want standard engine, I want standard suspension, I just want it like this, revalved, and he would then still rip a whole shot somehow and win GPs. But I just don't think that's possible now on the standard bike. Maybe like the odd race you see the guy get a good result on like a production based bike, but I think it's so, what I find from the factory bikes is that the difference is you can make mistakes and you barely make a mistake. Like you can be in the wrong gear, but every gear pulls. Like you should be second there, but you've forgot to change down, you've hit something, you're in third, but still pulls in third. And I think that's why for one overall lap you can rip on as like a standard bike, but then when you want to do it every single lap of a 30-minute moto, or imagine the same sort of thing in a supercross, being on that factory bike, just your race is so much easier. Like I remember when I was on a non-factory bike trying to race GPs the last year, and I'd hang into a race for like 15 minutes, then they would edge away, and then when I got the chance to ride a factory Kawasaki at the end of 2019 or 18, I can't remember, 19 I think, the difference was you'd just ride around the track behind people and you'd just be like, fucking hell, this is easy. Like, how have I not done this all year? But for some reason the bike just allowed you to do that. Like you didn't have to try half as hard. The bike drove that much better. So when you'd normally land with a bit of a bang, lose that momentum, the factory bike pushed you forward, always driving forward, and then that over a race distance saved you so much time and kept you in the fight. But going back to the bikes and move forward, it's hard to say, or move forward in the right way. I think, I really don't know, to be honest. Like, I just get what I rode. Like, I like the Honda now at this moment in time. I've got the suspension really good because it's accompanied by me, K-Tech do it all. Yeah, really, they have a big, I think, presence now pushing in Australia as well. But a really good company. We've just worked locally and not even done much because it's 5 minutes up the road, but barely done anything really, but just fine-tuned what they've got and the good people there. So, but in general, the bike's good. Like, there's not really much I want more from my bike, especially because I know I'm racing in the UK and no one's on factory bikes. So it makes a difference. Like Australia, no one, I don't think, is on factory bikes, are they really? Not
really. Like, it's pretty much like as good as you can make a production bike by buying like kit suspension. And I think the guys get factory tires, or like a version of factory tyres, but...
Yeah, it's exactly the same as UK. I mean, we don't get factory tyres, but honestly, I'm not really fussed. Like, I've never moaned about a tyre in my life, and I don't really think a factory tyre makes too much difference. But the difference at that top level, I really don't know. I think it's fine-tuning it, and as you get a little bit older, someone like Ken, he knows what he likes. I actually spoke with him a little bit last year, and he mentioned he was struggling with some things, but I think you just get older, and you've had crashes, and you only push when you're more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, he's not willing to push when he's not comfortable, and that's sort of how I feel. There was some races last year where I was like, I'm not comfortable, so I can't push, and I think that's the position he's in, rather than it being like, the bike's obviously not bad, he's on a factory bike, like, the bike's good. But if he's not comfortable, he's not willing to push, where you get someone that's a little bit younger, and they don't know what they like or don't like, they're like, factory Honda, like, I'm ripping this thing, like, is it good? And you come in first test and you're like, fucking bike's unreal. But when you get a little bit older, you realise what you like, and then you don't like to push unless you're 100% comfortable. And I think that's what you see in an older rider, or a more experienced rider like Ken, who's had crashes. But I don't know about the bikes in general. It's hard to say, isn't it? Like, you see them and everyone's ripping. I think one thing is that they do everything so good, and I think that's why people crash sometimes out the blue, is because you expect the bike to do... You expect it to do everything, like, and then when it kicks you out the blue, you go, fucking hell, the thing nearly kicked me over the handlebars. Whereas before, no one would be seat bouncing that jump in the first place. Like, everyone would be stood up, and they'd set up for it, and they'd be in the right gear, where now they're like, oh, I seat bounce that in first. So you're like, well, all right, then I seat bounce that in second. It just wouldn't happen before. You'd come out the corner, you'd select your gear, you'd make sure there was no bump or kicker in your line, you'd stand up and you'd hit the jump, where now I think people... it catches people off guard, and when the bike kicks them, they're like, fucking thing's kicking me all over the place, like, but you're sat down, you're hitting a jump, but you just expect it to do whatever you want it to do, whereas beforehand you expect that kick. Like, if you're hitting a kicker, you're ready for it to kick, you're stood up and you expect it, where now people expect nothing. Like, you expect to, even me, if there's bumps coming into a corner, like, you just fucking stand up and you just hit them. You're like, if it kicks you, you're like, fucking bike's kicking me over these bumps. Like, you're just like, do something with this fucking thing. Like, it's just kicked me coming into a corner, where before it's expected, you know, like, oh, the bike feels good into that corner, it's barely even kicking me. Where now, like, the bike goes sideways, you want to fucking throw it through the awning when you get to the back to the truck. You're like, fucking thing nearly had me off. And I think that's the difference now.
We're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, GYPSYTales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang, and as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125. Gypsy Gang.